dritten Jahr bei der PDC, hat sich 2013 damals die Tourcard gesichert und versucht seitdem in die Top 32 hineinzukommen. Im letzten Jahr stand er im Viertelfinale eines European Tour Events. Da soll es natürlich auch an diesem Wochenende in Hildesheim hin. Herzlich willkommen, David Pallett. David Pallett spielt gegen den Top-Akteur Nordirlands. Aktuell steht er auf Position 22 der Weltrangliste. Und der Tag seines Lebens, das war natürlich der 8. Oktober 2011, als er der erste Spieler war, der beim Modus Double-In, Double-Out den neuen Data warf. Vor rund 2 Wochen hat er Ja gesagt zu seiner Frau Theresa, die auch hier mit dabei ist. Die haben geheiratet. Einen herzlichen Glückwunsch und natürlich herzlich willkommen dem History Maker Brandon Dolan.
You may have picked up on it there in El Mapolka's introduction, but Brendan Dolan playing his first European Tour event as a married man. Congratulations to him after tying the knot with his partner Theresa, who you saw there planting a big smacker on the lips of the history maker as he made his way onto the stage. They tied the knot on September the 28th. Weddings and marriage, it's a recurring theme on the output today so far. It came up in our last match between Moulenkamp and Marco Puls, and it's on the agenda once again. But in his first match on the European Tour, Brendan Dolan is up against a player who made the semi-finals of one of these events last year, and it's a welcome back to the stage for David Pallett. Paul Nicholson alongside me for this one.
Yes, indeed. So, Mr. Big Stuff in Brendan Dolan now has Mrs. Big Stuff. No pun intended. And, yeah, just getting the board right. Sometimes when they're put on the wall, players go up there and they just feel it's not straight.
Or the numbers are not aligned correctly, and that almost adds to the illusion, or may create the illusion that things aren't as they should be.
Oh, you'd be amazed how particular dart players are.
But we're all systems go now, and the players can get on with the job of throwing 9 darts each in their warm-up.
Well, it's amazing how much focus you can take on stage and how much aggression. You know, these guys probably a bad example of that because they're not aggressive guys. But when you get something like that, where you've got smiles from the referee, the chalkers, and both players, all of the tension seems to melt away. And now we'll get down to a game of darts, and why not?
Yeah, big incentive for Dolan as well. He is one of those players in the frame, in the hunt for a European Championship place. He's picked up £6,500 on the European Tour this year, so he needs, you feel, to make the final day at least to give himself a realistic chance of making Hasselt at the end of this month. As for Pallett, well, he's got much more work to do given his form in Europe this year. He hasn't really acquitted himself at all. A couple of first-round defeats in Venray and in Gibraltar, losing to Ryan Harrington and Daryl Gurney, which is a shame and a surprise, I suppose, given what he achieved last year in Europe. A semi-finalist in the European match play in Innsbruck last September, where he beat Kim Huybrechts, amongst others, before losing to Chizzy in the last 4. And many people then thought, well, and given what he did at the World Championship as well, when he beat Kim Huybrechts once again to reach the last 32 at Ali Pali, given what he had achieved in those few months, many people expected him to really kick on this year, but it's not quite happened for him. What would you put that down to?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First leg is Brendan to throw first. Game on.
As Paul Hinks gets us underway. Rob, to answer your question, Dave Pallett has always been a little bit of an enigma in the game of darts. He does turn up and plays somewhat ridiculous darts sometimes, and his results in Innsbruck last year
41.
were not really a surprise considering the talent that he's had for quite some time. He's a slightly older young man now. Was always regarded as a very good young player. Now he's come out of that shell, and now he's just got to acquit himself
59.
with the big guys. But has played for England in his earlier part of his career. But coming through in the PDCs, he's had little peaks and troughs, and I'm not sure if he's found that consistency tag yet.
60.
I think some of the games that I've actually watched from Dave, you know, one game you'll see him just hit everything. Next game he'll hit nothing. And I think consistency is the hardest thing to find in the modern game. And if you have it, you're a lot more dangerous. But at the moment, Dave Pallett hasn't quite got that consistency right.
Yeah.
60.
Well, Brendan Dolan has had another type of consistency in Europe this year as well, in that he's not really produced much either. This is his 6th appearance on the European Tour this year, but he's only won 1 match so far. That was against Christian Kist in the first round
55.
in Sindelfingen last month. He did make the second round in Venray and in Munich, but he was seeded at those events earlier this year as well, so he didn't actually win any matches there. So he really has struggled on the European stage. But, of course, he did, as a newly married man, have that terrific win over Peter Wright at the World Grand Prix. And it was a timely reminder, I suppose, of what he can do on his day. And he loves that tournament, clearly, as well.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, it just holds so much, so many good memories for him. And, you know, the best performance of his year could well be the one against Barneveld at the World Match Play
60.
earlier in the summer. But obviously beating players like Barneveld, players like Wright in this particular season. I mean, he's not playing bad. Sometimes he's just not getting over the line. And in this game, we're seeing a very, very deliberate Dave Pallett.
180.
And like we saw earlier with Mansell against Justin Pipe, it was a very measured game, and we know that's the kind of player that Brendan Dolan is. We've seen a million games of his, and he will take his time and find that rhythm.
100.
But Pallett isn't like that.
No.
He likes to get on with it, but here I'm seeing something different.
Yeah, Pallett's 162 with his first 9 darts, and then he rattles in a 180, but he's not on a finish. He's on a bogey number here as well, but Dolan's on 185. This still, or is now, a good chance for Pallett to break here in the
99.
opening leg, and he's trimmed that down nicely to 60 as well. So, Pallett's in pole position once again.
He's definitely in pole position. And you never know quite which way Dave Pallett's going to go. He's got a million combinations in that head of his. You've got to think it's 20 in tops. Of course it is.
But yeah, he surprised us on a few occasions in the past.
He's surprising me with how slow he's thrown at the moment, but is it working?
50.
No, it's not.
It's been a very laboured first leg, this, actually. I mean, you sort of expect it from Dolan. It's the way he is, but it's been a very, very laboured and a very hard-fought first leg, this. And Dolan here, double 16 to hold his throw with 20 darts. 21 will do.
Game shot of the
That's
first
exactly what it's
leg.
done.
Brendan Dolan.
Not quite sure what that gesture
Same like
means.
he's
I think
taking
he's
to throw first. Game on.
emphasising the fact that it could be better and there is room for improvement, I suppose.
Well, sometimes you make gestures and make faces that you don't even know you're doing at the time.
99.
Dave is definitely one of those players who likes to go for the bull on the third dart, and I still don't understand why. Because there are big segments out there with a treble 18 and a treble 19, and he's so good. Why doesn't he go for them? But no, he goes for a bullseye. And speaking of bullseyes, we have to mention the fact that Dave Pallett earlier this season played against Michael van Gerwen, and Dave left himself 150, and they thought it would be prudent to go for 3 bullseyes. Well, he didn't hit it. So later in the match, Michael van Gerwen left 150 and hit 3 bulls to say, don't ever do that again.
Against me. The temerity of it.
That's the thing about Dave Pallett. He does what he wants. He's got his own way going. Practices a lot with Mark Webster. I know they've been practicing together
100.
over the course of the last couple of weeks, and they really do like each other's company. So I think sometimes when you want to make the most of practice, you've got to enjoy the time you spend with someone. And I know those two guys do.
Yeah, Webster here this weekend. He's involved in one of the matches of the evening session. Second up, in fact, tonight after
100.
the Steve West, Tony West derby.
The derby.
Webster faces Mervyn King. That should be some encounter.
You don't get many derbies in darts, do you?
No.
That's a good way to put it. I like it.
The fraternal derby.
I wonder who the parents are rooting for.
Well, Steve has the
97.
opportunity to qualify for the European Championship, so maybe their bias will be swayed that way.
Yeah, you mentioned about the fact that Brendan is involved in a bit of a scrap at the minute with those last spots up for grabs this weekend.
140.
He'll be
Ready to require 164.
He'll be focused on his game, but he will be keeping an eye on other people as well over the course of today and tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, 164 then for Dolan. Not going to be. Pallett's waiting in the wings, ready to pounce on 67
David,
here.
you require 67.
Do you get the feeling that Dave Pallett may be slightly uncomfortable with how slow this game's going so far, and he's just trying to find himself in this deliberate match?
Oh, well, he's hit 54 there. Sorry, 51.
Game shot of the second leg. David Pallett. Third leg is Brendan to throw first. Game on.
Well, that was a very neat and tidy check out from Dave.
You've already mentioned earlier on, Rob, about the fact that he's beaten Highbrechts in 2 high-profile games last year.
Yeah.
I remember watching that game at the
59.
World Championships. It was a stunning match between both players. But just get the feeling that Dave is more suited and more comfortable playing against players who are slightly quicker, and that has to play into the Dolan hands in this match for me.
140.
Yeah, it sounds a bit brutal to say that Dolan's bringing him down to his level. Well, I wouldn't say that, but it can certainly knock a player off his stride.
137.
I think it's one of the things you just get used to, the experience of playing on tour for a few years. You get used to playing against the real lightning quick players of Klassen, Van der Voort, Ricky Evans, who I know Dave is very friendly with because they're in the same stable together. But you've got to be used to playing against the other guys as well.
180.
But then, of course, you can quicken things up yourself by rattling in 180s and, you know, making the legs
That very well put,
breather
Rob.
still.
Yeah, because if your guy that you're playing against is playing a little slower,
100.
then why don't you try and speed him up?
Speed him up by just rattling through the legs. Anyway, that 180 brings Pallett into the reckoning here. And another big visit will leave him a very strong fancy for another break of throw.
105.
He's got one of those throws that you just look at and you think, well, how can something go wrong? Because it goes in the board with a thud. You know, a really good throw of a dart. There's no float about it. It's just bang. It hits the board. But if you do look the way his darts fly, they
60.
do wibble a bit.
David, you
And
require
sometimes when that goes
76.
wrong, that's the only weakness in his game. But more often than not, he's on as opposed to off. Is it going to be 20? It's going to be 16. All very conventional so far from Pallett.
56. Brendan, you require 145.
Well, he doesn't mind double 10 anyway. He'll be hoping he gets the chance to return. Dolan might have something to say about this. Well, not anymore.
54. David, you require 20.
2 10s for Pallett.
For a first break of throw.
Game
There
shot
it
of the
is.
third leg. David Pallett. Fourth leg is David to throw first. Game on.
As you can see, he's walking back down the ocky, and recently I was talking to a few of the guys about their tactic when they break the throw. I know Adrian Lewis is probably the biggest advocate of this.
45.
That when you break, don't walk off the ocky like you've seen David Pallett do there, to the right, because that's the rule. You've got to walk to the right so you don't block the camera. But if you break, don't go off to the right, walk straight back down and let your
100.
opponent know that you've broken him.
Yeah. And almost just get on with it straight away and don't give them a chance to dwell on it, think about it too much. Just move on and try and hammer home that advantage.
Correct. And the more experienced guys who've been around forever, like Wade,
85.
Manley, Kevin Painter, they're the advocates for standing at least just a millimetre outside of that exclusion zone, so they don't want to give you any room to sort of go back and set yourself.
Yeah.
They're saying to you, if you're going to reset yourself, you do it in the exclusion zone. You don't come outside with me.
100.
And that's just, you know, it's mind games on the ocky. It's a great topic.
Yeah.
crowd were very involved in the last game,
59.
which obviously had one of the home nation guys involved in Marco Puls.
Yep. 3 more to come though.
What's your pick of the home nation qualifiers? We don't have Max Hopp involved.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing Robert Allenstein though. I think he's, got something about him, shall we say. I think he qualified for Sindelfing, and that was it was the only tournament in Europe that he qualified for, but it was only his second attempt. So he's made good progress over a fairly short space of time. So quite intrigued to see what he can do in the last match of the night as well. And I think it's a match he can win against Steve Hine as well, who, again, is a player we've not seen a great deal of on the European Tour of late. And Pallett here, well, we could be seeing more of him this weekend if he carries on like this.
61.
John Archer there watching on along with Stephen Bunting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching Steve Hine later. Have been some people saying that he should present the Great British Bake Off now.
David, you require
I don't think that's going to happen because he's playing last on tonight against Robert Allenstein. David Pallett, bullseye is the target. That's all right, because now he can get treble 19 for that bull. Treble 16 leaves tops, or he could just do
69.
that.
And then you require 61.
Leave it handy just in case the Northern Irishman can't get rid of the 61.
Yeah, Dolan here needs to make the most of these sorts of opportunities. Can't really afford to let Pallett get too much of a cushion established. Is that a 15?
That's not the end of the world, because he's gone for the bullseye, obviously the bullseye area for a 25 and double 18. But if he'd have gone for treble 15 for double A, he would have hit that 15 anyway. So now,
tops.
It's going to be tops.
41.
Messy visit that from
David, you
Dolan.
require 63.
It all seems a bit bitty from Brendan. He just doesn't seem to have
no fluidity
his stuff
at all.
together. Yeah.
So Pallett 63 points away from a 3-1 lead. 6 for tops. Tops he wants then for 3-1.
43.
And once again he
Brendan,
has to
you
go
require
to double
20.
10, but he might not get the opportunity. Dolan is there first.
Well, I get the feeling this game is it's going to go this way all the way. It's going to be a bit scrappy. And Brendan's good at scrapping. But you've got to hit those doubles. Double 5.
10 score.
You can't afford to give chances away in scrappy
David, you
games.
require 20.
Because if David Pallett takes this out, he gets a 2-leg cushion, and then he could find the impetus and just push forward.
So 10s for Pallett.
Shot on the fourth
And it is 3-1 to the
David
Englishman.
Pallett. Fifth leg is Brendan to throw
Dolan
first.
looks
Game on.
absolutely furious with himself there. Shake of the head, but he has to get on with it now. And Pallett does have a bit of a cushion here now. And Dolan just has that demeanour of a man who looks
85.
a little bit crestfallen after that.
You're perfectly within your rights to get a little bit frustrated and a bit angry sometimes in matches where things aren't going your way, but the last thing we want is them to do anything that Nick Kyrgios would do, which is
tank.
Yeah.
140.
We don't do that in darts. We keep fighting.
It'd be the equivalent of just lobbing 3 darts with your wrong hand towards the outer reaches of the board as well, I suppose.
There are times where you feel like you want to do that because you get so frustrated. However, fighting qualities through games like this, especially where you just feel like it's not going your way, if you can turn it around, these are the games that give you that little bit of confidence when the chips are down, really.
Yeah.
97.
Well, Pallett showed plenty of fighting qualities and spirit in his qualifying section as well, because he really was made to work very, very hard indeed. He had 3 matches, 2 of them went to 11 legs, 1 against Ricky Williams and 1 against Devon Peterson
85.
in the final round. So, bearing that in mind, having worked so hard to get here in the first place, and not having had a great deal of experience on the European Tour this year, or not having much time on the main stage in the European Tour this year, he's desperate to make an impression, and he's certainly doing that here with another 180. And it's looking likely now he could rattle in another break of throat for a 4-1 lead. Scott Dale was the other man he beat in qualifying, by the way. Dolan just had the 2 qualifiers to navigate against Andy Hamilton and Sean Griffiths. One of those
60.
matches also went
David,
to
you
11
require
legs as
84.
well. But Pallett here, 84 away from a 4-1 lead. And that would leave Dolan staring down the barrel.
He was deadly on the 60 the last visit.
12's brilliant first start from Pallett. Double 6.
Game
Nicely
shot on the
done.
fifth leg. David Pallett, six-legged Stevie to throw the first.
He's not quite oozing
Game
confidence,
on.
but he's looking very comfortable now here, David Pallett. It looks to have something about him here, and Dolan, he's one of those players, he quickly lets you know how he's feeling. You can just tell by his body language and his demeanour, and I'm sure that some players, Pallett's no exception, you know, can feed off that.
92.
It must play a part.
It does.
When you see your player, when you see your opponent looking absolutely crestfallen and downtrodden and looking like a beaten man, you must thrive on situations like that. Anyway, Dolan.
135.
Well, if David Pallett is the kind of player that I think he is, it's the kind of thing that makes you smile. When your opponent is shaking your head and, you know, he's got all these mannerisms as if to say, it's not looking like my day, it just brings a smile to your face as if to say, well, I'll tell you what, mate,
59.
if you don't want it, I do. And players like Brendan, like Robert Thornton, these are the guys that tell you how they're feeling. They wear their heart on their sleeve, and I admire that so much. But sometimes it can actually work to your detriment.
180.
Well, just something for Pallett to think about here. Brendan Dolan rattles in another 180. That's the fifth of the match.
Well, on an occasion this season, Brendan Dolan has actually been miles in front and lost the match.
Well, Pallett's not going anywhere just yet.
Yeah, I was just about to say that maybe it's his turn to come back from a big deficit. But David Pallett is really not letting that be the case. He's hit a 180 and left 170.
60.
Can he do
David,
350?
you require 170.
In
That was
six.
Pallett's fifth 180 of the match, and wouldn't it just be great for him to check out with a 170 here? It's not going to be, though.
96.
It's pretty
Brendan,
handy,
you require
though.
126.
Because now Dolan, staring down the barrel of a gun of 126 points. If he doesn't hit this, he might be looking at winning every leg, but oh, it was in.
76.
The 419s,
David, you require
and the
74.
bullseye looks absolutely plumb.
Well, sometimes it just isn't your day. And David Pallett, with no hesitation, comes straight to the hockey now for 13 and bullseye. Can he hit double 12? No, he
62.
can't. So
Brendan, you
the fact
require
that the bullseye's
50.
knocked out now gives him more options. So instead of going 9-8 or 1-12, he's got so many other choices.
I think he's looking at 18s here. Well, he's hit the 4 instead, so that's just messed things up slightly. Double 16 then to get back to 4-2.
34.
And Pallett returns once again.
David, you require 12.
He's hit double 6 in this match already. Can he hit it again? Double 3, the Ashdown. Oh boy, I'm seeing a lot of misstarts in this match.
Brendan, you require
It's almost
16.
as if Dave Pallett doesn't want to have that 4-leg gap. Does Brendan Dolan want to bring this from 3 down to a gap of 2? He loves this corner of the board, usually.
Game shot on the sixth leg. Brendan Dolan.
That's not a look of love, in my opinion. That's a look of,
Seven-legged
right, it's
Brendan
about
to
time I
reverse.
hit you.
Game on.
Okay, game on it is.
Yeah, Brendan Dolan simply has to win this if he wants to harbour any hopes of playing in the European Championship at the end of October.
It does bring to mind
96.
whether thinking about that is, you know,
Playing on his mind.
overtaking, you know, what he's doing in this match. I know we can say till we're blue in the face that you should be in the moment,
97.
in the present, whatever sports psychology you want to use, but play the game that's in front of you and everything else will take care of itself. But sometimes when you're in a tournament and this is the only opportunity to solidify your place in another TV event,
140.
it does creep into your mind. You wouldn't be human if it didn't.
Pallett bossing the averages at the moment. He's nudging 95 as things stand.
99.
There we see.
Well, this is the first time I've seen Dave Pallett play in black shoes for a while.
95.
And I am one of the advocates for the shoe argument, because when you're practicing at home or whether you're playing in a tournament, be it on stage or somewhere else, I believe you should always wear the same shoes because you should be the same height all the time. Dave Pallett had a very bright pair of
100.
brown
Brendan, you
Oxford
require
type shoes
170.
that he always used to play in. Now he's gone to the trainer-style black shoes. And sometimes that actually takes a little bit of time to get used to that. Michael van Gerwen has been wearing the same types of shoes for about 4 years, funnily enough.
105.
Gets them from the same shop.
When he's playing darts, let's stress, I'm sure he's got...
Correct. I think he can
I'm sure
afford a
with
few
his-
other pairs.
I'm sure with his bank balance he can afford a few more pairs of shoes. Not quite Imelda Marcos standards, but you get the idea.
41. Brendan, you require 65.
All right, different game if Brendan Dolan hits this. It just feels like he may have rescued a little bit of the momentum away. Well,
That's a bit too plumb anyway. 15, double four then he wants.
57. David, you require 164.
But Dolan will fancy his chances of coming back there. We see the shoes. Very nice too.
comfy. Nothing wrong with comfy. It's Phil Taylor who started that argument about playing in comfy
64.
shoes.
Brendan, you require 8.
Especially in weekends where you could be playing 4 or 5 times. 2 fours for Brendan Dolan.
Game shot on the
And it's there.
7th flag. Brendan Dolan.
So what could have been 5-1 is now 4-3.
Game on.
It's a totally different game to what it could have been about 4 or 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, we've debated before as well about when players are on 164 and they go for the 19s rather than the 2018s route.
100.
If you've been, I mean, he's been hitting the treble 20 bet quite regularly today. So why would he suddenly deviate away from that? I just, we've questioned this before, I know, but it just always seems a little bit curious that he should suddenly switch to 1920s on 164.
140.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different arguments in this case because obviously David Pallett in this game has been better on the 60s than anywhere else on the board. However, the way he puts his darts together and he throws them with such force and he can get them so close together that if he gets the first dart right, just like that one there in the 57,
96.
that ordinarily he'd be able to hit it and just nestle it together better than he would be able to get a 60 and a 54. I think it's just one of those trends that's happening right now. I'm sure that over the next 4 or 5 years, we will see some other trends
60.
when it comes to counting and ways to finish. Mincer Sulevic has definitely taught us that not everything is conventional. And I go back to an incredible 102 finish he had. I think it was back in Mulheim.
121.
And he confused the spotter, he confused the commentators, and I almost think he confused himself. David Pallett is the proverbial spotter's nightmare as well. He's done some shots that
60.
make your head spin.
Well, Dolan again very languid in his approach there as he retrieved his darts, just again almost stopping Pallett in his tracks there to some extent.
There's a few beads of sweat on the brow
60.
of Dave Pallett, and he's wiping them away right now. I don't think that's because it's too hot in here. I just think there's a bit of stress on stage.
I think there is. Suddenly that once comfortable lead has been eroded and Dolan is in contention again, but Pallett will be feeling the heat once more if he can rattle in a big
David
score. It's
Ripple,
on 140, so he's down to
124.
a finish of 101.
Pallett for 124. 60 should be the target. 60 was the target. Now, treble 18. That would have left the bull.
56.
Now, this could
Brendan, you require
change the game even more.
101.
Interesting to see where Dolan goes here. Sometimes he likes to go for 19s on this shot.
He's just looking at the right-hand side of the board, so maybe the 17s is the course of action. We'll find out in due course. He has gone 19s. 44 away for 16s.
85.
And the head is in the hands once again.
David, you require 68.
Well, this would fix a lot of what's gone wrong in the last couple of legs. It's going to be double four. He's got 2 darts at it as well. That one wobbled. But that one goes in.
Shot on the A flag. David Pallett.
And
Now
Dolan had a
Brendan
chance to get the
reverse.
parity at 4-4.
Game on.
Missed his favourite double. Pallett takes advantage. 2-2s, and now it's 5-3 Pallett. This game has gone up and down, mostly for Pallett.
100.
Dolan's momentum has been stopped and halted by a very good 68 finish.
Dave Pallett then one leg away from a meeting with Gerwyn Price in the second round tomorrow here at the German Darts Championship
140.
in Hildesheim. Robbie Green is on stage next against Christian Kist. Christian Kist has had a good time of it of late as well. We were talking about his exploits in the recent Players' Championship events.
Darts from Dolan, yeah.
Some fire in the belly here of Brendan Dolan. But the celebration tells you that perhaps it's too little too late. I wouldn't go along with that just yet.
I don't think we've seen the last of this game yet.
No.
91.
We definitely haven't seen the last of the German Darts Championship as well, Rob, because this tournament has been going a long time, even before the European Tour started. We used to go to Halle in northern Germany. Used to play at the tennis centre there.
100.
They have a very big grass court event every season.
They do.
And we used to have an event there where everybody would go, and you know, there was no qualifying school back then, but if you could afford to play, you'd go. Yeah, plethora of people from around Europe.
Brendan, you require 121.
Some good winners of that event. Remember Cole Stompy winning that back in 2008. Phil Taylor's won that one as well.
Dan Dawson would be getting all misty-eyed if you mentioned Co Stompy's name on air alongside him.
Yeah, I know Cole's doing all right at the moment. He's doing some TV work for Holland at the
David, you
moment.
require 170.
Well, this would be absolutely brutal for Brendan Dolan.
He can hit this, you know. He can hit this, you know, for the match. Oh, great effort from Dave Pallett.
Brendan, you require 68.
That would have been absolutely brutal. And Dolan here, well, this has to go, you feel. Otherwise, it's back to Bellecourt.
Back to double 16, which he missed in the last leg, and misses it
52.
again, almost in the same spot.
David, you require 25.
So he had 68 last time. This time round, he's already missed a match dart. But 25, it's double 8. He's got 2 in hand to take care of the Northern Irishman. He's all over. David Pallett has not been involved in a classic here with Brendan Dolan, but the man in blue goes forward, and the man from Bellecourt goes home.
Yep, David Pallett's first win on the European Tour this year. Didn't make it beyond the first round in Gibraltar or in Venray, but he is through to face Gerwyn Price in round 2 in Hildesheim tomorrow. And a semi-finalist last year, David Pallett is back in business once again. We'll hear from him with Elmar Polka in due course. Robbie Green and Christian Kist on the way next.
Für ihn ein wichtiges Match gewesen, denn hätte mit einem Sieg sich qualifiziert für die European Darts Championship. David, congratulations. It didn't look easy to win that thing here.
No, I think I've played Brendan about 5 or 6 times now, and he's done me every time. So I know I was in for a tough game, but luckily for me, Brendan didn't turn up like his usual self, and I sort of pinched a few legs, so I'm happy with that.
So is it difficult to play because of a slow rhythm?
It is, yeah, but I've been playing a lot slower myself recently as well, so I didn't too mind it, but it was just difficult the way the game was going. You know, we were both sort of pinching legs, but I'm happy with the result. So.
In Ireland, you reached the last 16 in the tournament. Is it getting better?
Yeah, I've had a bit of a poor year, so hopefully towards this end of the year now, I'm going to start picking it up and hopefully do as well as I can in this tournament. So we'll see how it goes.
See you tomorrow again. Thank you very much, David Pallett. Also, David Pallett, sagt, hat die letzten 5 Partien verloren. Hat schnell hinterher. Er hat die letzten 5 Partien verloren gegen Brandon. Ist also froh, dass er durchgekommen ist.